Hi, my name is Instructor Laura Brown, and I teach stained glass at the high school level. And today I'm just going to go through our first project we do in this class, which is called a mosaic. And this is the first project we start off with because there's very basic breaking procedures, and it just gets students really used to breaking glass. So if it's your very first time doing stained glass, I actually recommend to do a mosaic first. Just so you can get a handle on breaking glass a lot. You get more comfortable with it the more you do it. So I'm going to show you an example of a mosaic. This is a mosaic that was made by one of my students. Basically what's going on here is this is a tile that several bits of glass called tesserae have been cut out, then glued down to the tile, and then we do something called grouting, which is all the cement type stuff that you see in between all the pieces. So that is a mosaic. When you're starting off making a mosaic, I always suggest to practice a couple designs. So for the purposes of our class, we have these design sheets that have these little boxes in them. There are 9 boxes, but I usually make sure that the students fill out 6 before they will get their tile. So we always make sure that there's 6 designs that they try out. And even if you aren't doing this in a teaching scenario, I recommend drawing out a few designs first before you commit to gluing pieces of glass down on your mosaic. I have a couple examples here of students that filled out this paper. What I always tell students when they fill out this paper is that you don't necessarily have to have every single little piece of glass drawn out. That doesn't make much sense, and it takes way too much time. So just very general sketches of what they will want their mosaic to look like. This is a really good example. We talk about elements and principles of design, which you can look up almost anywhere on the internet, and I actually do a lecture on it in class. And we make sure that they have those elements and principles of design, so that's just one example. It doesn't have to be representative of anything. These are actual images, but if somebody wanted to, they could decide that they want to make theirs very geometric. And some designs are definitely better than others. Like for instance, this orange down here is just kind of floating by itself. I might suggest to enlarge it or to crop it much more like this flower or this palm tree. So after you've picked out a design is when we want to actually make our design to scale. So what I have my students do is they pick out a tile, and then we're going to lay their tile down on a piece of paper and trace it. That way they'll have something that's to scale. So usually we design something first, we get it to scale, and then we're going to transfer our scale drawing onto this tile. So I have an example of a student that has already done this. This was her design right here that she made. And so this is cut out right now, but what she did, she traced her tile and she enlarged her design and improved it using rulers, making sure it was really crisp and straight. Then the next thing I usually have my students do is color in their design, pick out their colors. Because if you start randomly gluing down glass, it's going to be a big mess. So you want to make sure they have some kind of color scheme going on before they actually start putting on glass. So the next thing that the student did is they cut this out. And there's a couple different options I have at this point. I always tell my students they can either put these side by side and just try to copy as best they can. And some people prefer to do that the other way, And this is the way this one was done actually. You can see that these lines aren't very dark, but it's enough where I know what I need to do. Put their design on a blank tile and tape it down. And then we use something called carbon transfer paper. And the really cool thing about this is you can use it over and over again, and it does a really good job. So we put the carbon transfer paper down on the tile and make sure the shiny side is up. I would tape it down and then make sure that your design is centered and tape it down as well. And then wherever you see a pencil line, you want to press really hard and use a pencil and go over it, and it should transfer onto your tile. Some students said that ballpoint pens work really well, and I guess it just depends on what kind of pen you use, but I had some students use pen and it seemed to work very well. So here at last we would have our design all drawn out, and at this point we're ready to glue on some glass. But before we do that, you'd have to take a look at the glass breaking demo, which is going to be in a separate video. All right, that's all for this one. Have a good one.